Welcome back to another VOD review, and in this one we go over a terrible 2-13 loss on Haven. Our friend from Sentinels here is Silver 3, looking to get into gold with some help. But before I tell you what can be improved in each clip, I'm going to play with none of my own input, and I want you to try to see what can be critiqued. If you want to submit your own VOD to be reviewed, you can get priority by joining the Discord and submitting one there. Also, follow my Twitch where I'll be streaming live VOD reviews as well as playing ranked.
If I'm gonna dash in, watch my right side, please.
Down, C.
I tried walling garage.
Starting on pistol round, your Jet makes a good point. Just because he dashed onto site doesn't mean you don't have to clear anything and can just waltz onto site. The whole point of a Jet dash is to create space to get the enemy's crosshair away from the choke point and allow the attackers to flush out, overwhelming the defenders and giving the attackers a better chance to take the site. Just because a player has passed through X amount of sight and is past a certain line doesn't mean everything he's passed is clear. As Sage, you did a good job of making sure to wall off garage, but you did so a little prematurely. Make sure to clear spots where enemies can just sit, like behind that green box where Sova was. Once there are no enemies close to you, then you can wall. You're a very important agent to have alive late in the round, as literally all of your abilities are very useful in the post plant. Your heal can make the difference in a gunfight, your slow orb can make them not have time to either push or get to the spike and defuse, your wall can, well, wall them off, and you have the best ult in the game by far, your res. And don't even try to argue with me on that. If you don't think it's the best ult in the game, you've got a smooth brain. Resing a player can make such a huge difference, and even if the player you resed is AFK, the enemy team might call for a retake and save just because of the fact that there's another one of you guys alive.
We can go to site.
Enemy spotted A. Healing.
One more flank.
Barrier blazing. Blocking fire. That was bad. Light planted.
Wall's dropping.
They're breaking wall.
Satchel out.
I'm gonna play lineups, bro. I'm going to spawn.
Enemy spotted A.
One enemy remaining.
Short. Outside now,
Yeah.
behind the box.
Here. Shoot your layup. Nice.
We can go to site.
As much as you want to play your role as Sage and go wall off CT, make sure to either drop the bomb first, or go plant and then wall. You overextending like that, even that tiny bit past the Viper wall, can get you killed and you can drop the bomb in a not so good spot. I wouldn't be pointing this out if the Viper wall wasn't there, but since the Viper wall is up and splits the site clean in half, your teammates who are on the other side of the wall cannot help you. If an enemy were to peek, you'd be left there hands out like you're trying to fondle someone and your only help is your Raze, who isn't in a very good position either. It's important to remember that the spike is the most important object in Valorant. Just like basketball has the ball, Valorant has the spike. Without the ball, there is no basketball, and without the spike, there is no Valorant. It's what makes the game work. If there was no spike, it'd be the attackers chasing the defenders around for 2 minutes because all the defenders have to do is live.
One more flank.
Next time, just drop the spike and tell your Viper to put down her wall so your team can support you while you wall off CT. After the spike is planted, you go sit in the corner of the cubby to the right of CT. It's a fine spot, but next time don't run to it. You're letting the enemy know exactly where you are. If that brim smoke wasn't there, you could make the argument that you wanted to minimize the time spent shift walking in the open, but since that smoke is indeed there, there's no reason for you to run there. You're in little to no danger.
Alright, Raze is on B. Push to C-Link.
Message sent. Last player standing.
If you go for that wall to block off Reyna and the C site, you need to just place it. There's no time for perfection here. There's no time to think to yourself if there will be a gap or not. It's debatable whether or not you should have even placed the wall, but once you've committed, you've committed. Once you've rotated it, it should have been placed in like a fifth of a second. There's a decent chance that she'll ride the wall up if you take any longer, because it's almost guaranteed that she'll peek. She's a Silver 3 Reyna who just got 2 kills in very quick succession. She's gonna peek and go for the 3k. I know it's only the 6th round and you don't know much about individual players yet, but she picked Reyna. Players who pick Reyna are usually confident in their skills as a player and want to frag out and will be very aggressive.
Last player standing.
Yeah, I think A might be clear. Got him. A's clear, it's clear. A's clear, come here.
Our spike is down. Spike down mid.
Semi solo.
Unavoidable.
Semi solo. Somewhere around it. There's another one.
One enemy remaining.
Suffolk, go
He has
ahead.
an op, bro. He has an op. He was on C.
Last player standing.
I have the spike.
30 seconds left.
His ult.
On round 10, you called that A was clear way too early.
A's clear, it's clear.
Just because it shows signs of being clear doesn't mean it is. You had cleared maybe 20% of site when you called it out. It's better to say nothing and call it late than call it wrong. You don't have to make a flat out statement that it's clear, you can just say, I'm clearing A right now, it seems open. When someone makes a statement in Valorant, people are going to believe you because, well, they trust you because you're on their
A's clear,
team.
it's clear.
Also, it doesn't hurt to check behind the box on site.
A's clear, come here.
It's better to check than risk getting trigger disciplined or stabbed in the back because you didn't feel the need to check one spot. Also, this part isn't about our good friend on Sentinels here, but about the Sova and this 1v1 to win the round in general. If you're our team Sova, going A there is super predictable and planting in the open is just throwing up the white flag. Brim was the C player and just killed Sage from CT spawn towards C.
Standing.
Brim knew that the spike was down at the bottom of B mid, so it's pretty obvious that Sova would take it and run to A, as that's the site furthest away from the only alive enemy. If he really wanted to, Brim could have been there sitting on site already by the time Sova got there. Brim had a much faster route than Sova did.
We go B, we go B.
Deploying drone. Scanning ahead.
Toxin screen down. Last player standing. Spike down mid.
In general, B on Haven is one of the hardest and easiest sites to take in the entire game. It's either super easy and you steamroll in, or you get absolutely smacked and have to rethink if you deserve your rank. This is because there's only one entrance to the site for the attackers. It's one of the only sites in the game with that feature. It's also one of the hardest sites to retake. Every doorway you can come onto site through is vulnerable to a lot of places on site. You have to clear left and right when coming through each doorway, as well as there being many spots of different elevations you can sit in. This means not only will you have to have good crosshair placement, but also good eyesight, peripheral vision, reactions, and game knowledge. There's also a very hard post-plant spot to contest, being window and mid. With all that being said, you should really only attack the site if you're feeling pressure from less than 2 people and you're not smoked off. Only if these people aren't using much utility and are peeking you often should you attempt to take B. You have to be very aggressive since you can be peeked from A and C link, and there's no point in trying unless you have a Sage and smokes. Your team only had you as the Sage but no smokes. Jett and Viper don't really count, since Jets don't last long and Viper only has one. The best way to take B is to try to get an early pick on site, and if you do, hold W and don't stop. If you can't get that early pick or they're stalling you with slow orb, shock darts, and boom bots, just fall off and try another site.
Rushing garage and C again. I'm getting out.
Just dip. Play retake.
CT smoked off. Already on site.
Going.
One in garage already. One up CT.
78 on Raze.
104 and 104.
Spike planted. Stay down.
You should have your pistol out once you're halfway across B site. There's no telling whether or not an enemy will push you. Anytime you're 2 zones away from an area occupied by the enemy, you should have your gun out. By zones, I mean any area in the map, really, like the blocks that make up the map. A link is a zone, C link is a zone, B is a zone, C mid is a zone, C long is a zone, A long, A site, CT spawn, A lobby, all zones. For example, if you're retaking A site and you're coming from C garage through B site, you should whip out your firearm as you're entering B. Why? Because that's prime territory for a lurker to be, and an enemy who's simply overextending from his team's zone of A site will likely peek CT spawn and then B site, looking for people to catch off guard for a free kill. What that raise did there should be expected. In fact, it should be a surprise when an enemy doesn't peek out like that. It's very common for an enemy to do that, and as we've seen, it works because people aren't ready for it. I have one important tip that I think will get you out of silver right away and probably help you hover around low plat. Change to right-handed view model. Left-handed view models make me want to gouge my eyes out. If you want to submit your own VOD, join the Discord and also follow my Twitch where I'll be streaming pretty soon. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like the video if you learned anything, and dislike the video if you didn't learn anything. I really appreciate all the support I'm receiving. It doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and peace.
Yo, Jay, you want a skin?
Don't
Weapon
talk to me,
here.
please.